Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second HoW talent session. I'm Giles, need a haircut, Hextall Smith, Director at JobTrain, and really pleased to run this session with you this morning. Hoping this finds you all safe and well, and that you and your families are safe and well too. And I just hear that congratulations are due to Boris Johnson and Carrie on the birth of a baby boy, so congratulations to them. I'm also hoping this morning, whilst I'm on lockdown here at my mum's house, that her broadband holds out and that you can all see me and hear me okay, and this session runs well. But do forgive me if there are any potential problems at all with technology or anything else like that as well. So anyway, welcome. And this morning we're going to talk all about how to swear by your ATS and not at it. It's a common thing these days that people sometimes have a bit of a love-hate relationship with their tech, but hopefully I'm here to unveil a few of the tips and helpful hints around getting the very best out of your tech solution. And I'm going to share some slides with you this morning. So I'm going to get started. I think the session should last about half an hour. But before I do get started, if you have any questions at all, I'd really like to answer them. There is a little ask a question area down here. So please do feel free to click on that, ask a question, and I'll answer those at the end of this session. Right. Let's get started. Okay, hopefully you can all now see my slides okay. So talent acquisition and technology and how to make it work for you. So as I'm mousing about at conferences, at exhibitions and joining round tables and that kind of thing, sometimes I hear, can TA and tech ever be friends? And the answer sometimes is it's complicated. But it is a relationship. And ultimately, like any kind of relationship, it should be based on trust, understanding, communication, teamwork, and support as well. These are vital elements that will run right the way through this chat this morning, and hopefully it'll sort of underpin our presentation this morning. So let's get started. There's quite a lot to get through this morning, but essentially I'm going to split this down into 5 key areas. So first of all, how tech fits into your resourcing strategy and how you can make sure that it realizes, or you can realize, its full potential. The second element of this is how we can measure the real ROI of recruitment technology. And I'll come on to talk about that as we go through and qualify that a little bit more. Third area is how you can buy the right solution with confidence. So how you can find the right solution and how you can be absolutely sure when you pull the trigger that you're buying the right solution for you. The fourth area is around making sure that you're really setting yourself up for success. So that is getting the right people in the room within your own organization, but also you're forging the very best and most productive partnerships with your chosen provider. And the final thing is sometimes the tech element of recruitment tech or ATS can be a little bit of a dark art. So I'm going to lift the lid on that a little bit and hopefully dispel a few myths and answer a few questions on that. So first of all, how does tech fit into resourcing strategy? So I guess you need to start with the why. So what are your specific challenges? Because ultimately tech is an enabler. It's not a solution itself. It's not necessarily a panacea for all of your problems. And it's really important that you fix some of the basics first before implementing a piece of tech. So what I mean by that is there are some common challenges and some of these may resonate with you in some way. So the first off is within your recruitment, TA or HR function, you might feel that you are being a little bit reactive. So in other words, you're finding out about requisitions or, recruitment requirements at the last minute. You don't necessarily have an engaged pipeline in order to fulfill those needs. Perhaps you have too many candidates coming through. So you've got a flood of candidates, but you're struggling a little bit. Or on the flip side, perhaps, you're really struggling just to find people and get people to apply for your roles, that are of a certain quality. Well, the final element, which is quite a common thing, is that you've got loads of candidates coming through, but you've got attrition. So you've got that classic leaky bucket syndrome. So what I'm going to do is, first off, I think sometimes there's a knee-jerk reaction around the latest tech, and there's some fantastic tech out there, but sometimes it's like, I need a chatbot. And that's doing no disservice to chatbots at all. They're fantastic. In fact, we have one within JobTrain for our users, but it isn't necessarily the solution to a specific problem. So I'll go through a couple of models now. And the first off is looking at attraction. So if your problem is that you've got too few candidates, and that ultimately leads through to perhaps poor quality candidates, not enough of the right quality, which leaves your roles unfulfilled in some way. That then leads to noise from hiring managers, they're unhappy, and consequently that has an impact on the business. So what you need to do is to look at more of a high touch solution, which focuses on, first of all, reaching the right people, attracting them, sourcing them really effectively, but also engaging them, whether they're pre-apply, post-apply, and giving them a really good candidate experience all the way through. And the result of that is an improved candidate funnel. Another example is around screening and assessment. So you've got a load of candidates coming through, high volumes of candidates, but you're spending far too much time on sifting out the quality versus those that are unsuitable. And perhaps you haven't got the time to give proper attention to those people that are unsuitable, or give them quality feedback, that kind of thing. And what that leads to is increased time to hire at the sorting stage. So you've basically got a long lag time or a long lead time. And again, that leads to typical noise from hiring managers and them being unhappy. The solution round then is implementing some automation in terms of screening or initial sifting. And that might be based on strengths or values fit and that kind of thing. And the result is you have a far improved candidate funnel. You're spending 80% of your time on the top 20% of candidates rather than just trying to deal with volume. So measuring the real return on investment of recruitment technology, and I'm going to qualify this now. So our typical measurements within HR and recruitment and TA is sometimes things like time to hire and cost per hire, but they don't necessarily get the attention from senior leadership within an organization. Here's a few areas that do. So I think sometimes TA doesn't get the recognition it truly deserves within an organization, and consequently doesn't necessarily sometimes always get the budget that we need as well. So if we can look at solutions that deliver against things like proactive hiring, so allowing us to use plans, have really good, solid, engaged pipelines, talent pools, or talent communities, that can result in a reduced business cost of empty chairs. In other words, people not in position and operating. The second is around reach. So having solutions that enable us to reach a more wide and diverse network or potential pool of hires, faster and efficient hiring processes. So technology that helps us to increase our ability to secure and select the strongest talent first ahead of our competition, which is really, really key because competition is fierce. We're in a difficult time right now, but if we look forward to a point where we are all back, we're all back at our offices, it won't quite be business as usual, but there is still going to be competition for the very best candidates for the roles that we're looking to recruit for. The final area is around really strong onboarding. So making sure that your onboarding or pre-boarding processes provides a really good experience. It drives really good engagement with people. It gives them the information they need before they join, which reduces their time to ultimately settle with an organization and reduces their time to perform, and ultimately then reduces attrition. So if we focus on that for a minute, sometimes when we look at measuring the impact of the recruitment activity that we deliver or the hires that we deliver, we actually stop when people start. Now, if we look at the real strategic return on investment of us getting it right and performing really well, hiring a better person results in them performing more quickly, and ultimately can result in them staying longer with our organization. So it reduces attrition and ultimately makes a direct contribution to the bottom line in terms of business performance. Another way of looking at tech is how tech helps us to advance our own maturity in terms of the way in which we perform as a recruitment or a talent acquisition or an HR function. So right at the very bottom, you've got really the risk area. We're being very reactive and we don't necessarily have the data that we need in order to make informed decisions. And then we move up to level 2, which is more about having a bit more control and visibility on our recruitment activity. Where we really want to be is at least level 3, the recruitment engine, which is performing really well. It's firing all cylinders, if you'll pardon the pun. But then ultimately where we want to try and get to is a trusted advisor. So we go from being reactive and being seen as a bit of a cost center within TA to becoming very much a proactive function, which is ultimately a profit enabler. And the tech really should contribute towards this. So in terms of buying tech, it can be sometimes a bit of a minefield. There are so many options available to us. You know, if we look at ATS in isolation, there's probably about 40 or 50 ATSs operating in the UK right now, and that's overwhelming choice for anybody that's starting out. The first advice I would give is to look at your trusted networks. So some examples of that would be the Forum for In-House Recruitment Managers, or in-house recruitment. They both have really well-established forums, really engaged communities that are more than willing to provide help, support, share their own experiences of different tech providers. But you can also look at similar customers who perhaps have similar sector experience as well and drill down into that a little bit more. Really critical in terms of your journey of looking for and finding suppliers is getting stakeholders. So anybody that might have a vested interest in this particular tech project, get them in the room, consult them first off, and seek their involvement. The last thing you want to do is get quite a long way down the line in terms of, you know, choosing a piece of tech only to have the blockers put on by people that probably should have been consulted and should have been brought through that journey with you. When you're looking at tech and arranging demos and that kind of thing, my advice would be don't get stuck in the weeds in terms of the smallest bits of functionality. Ask the suppliers how they are going to help you to achieve your strategic objectives. They are the experts ultimately, and they should be able to present and advise you on exactly how their tech is going to contribute towards success for you. And in my experience, 16, 17 years of going through lots of procurement processes, the ones that probably delivered the best results for buyers is when suppliers were asked to conduct scenarios-based demonstrations. So you share your process, you know, your recruitment process or workflow, and then ask the suppliers to show you a live demonstration of their product that demonstrates very clearly how it will support those processes rather than dictate them. And ultimately, when you look at suppliers, there is no substitute for experience at all. Look at the people within the organization and what expertise they have. Look at the product that they have and how mature it is and how flexible it is, but also critically look at the security, whether it's GDPR compliance, whether it's the security and where the data is hosted and how that's done. That is really, really important. And your colleagues and your stakeholders within IT will have a real vested interest in that. And sometimes, which is often overlooked within a procurement process, is ultimately, can I work with these people? It's really important that when you are engaging with demos and engaging with conversations with prospective suppliers, that you really feel that you can work with them and you can forge a really productive partnership with them. So when you get down to sort of the latter stages, when we look at the commercials around an ATS or most pieces of tech, it's normally split into two areas. The first is the scoping, setup and implementation. And these are just a few of the questions that I would urge you to ask. So such as, you know, what kind of support will I receive, you know, during the process of scoping it, setting it up, testing it, that kind of thing. Are there any limits within that? So am I restricted to a certain number of hours, you know, a support, or is that unlimited to make sure there's success within there as well? The next bit is going to be around training. So training, how will it work? What kind of support will I have? Who's that provided to? That kind of thing as well. And then finally, who's going to be trained within my organization? Am I going to be expected to do some of the training? Is there video training? That kind of thing as well. The second area is around the license fee as well and support fee. So there are some areas you really need to consider within this. The first are upgrades includes and how are they charged? You know, are they charged or are they included as standard? What kind of ongoing support is available and who's that for? Who can access it and how is it delivered? You know, is it available by phone? Is it via email, online chat, those kinds of things? Secondly, what features are standard? So what's included in the solution that I'm buying, but also what's available and, you know, is there any extra cost associated with that as well? The next area is, are there any limits to what's included? So is there a point at which I'm suddenly going to get charged for things that I use? And then finally, in terms of support, what kind of support is going to be offered in the form of somebody that's going to work with me? A success manager is somebody that is going to have a vested interest in ensuring the success of your implementation, but also the ongoing success of the product you use and making sure that you get the very best out of it. There are sometimes some hidden costs within tech as well, and I'd urge you to look at those as well. So have a look at things like tweaks and changes. Are there charges for those? What kind of limits are there against support? Upgrades we've already mentioned. Integrations are critical. You will no doubt have other tools and things that you'd like integrated within your ATS. Are those integrations available? Are they included as part of the cost for the solution, or are they going to cost me extra, and if so, how much? If you can at all, when you come to negotiation, try and include those integrations as part of the package, so you're not then potentially getting stung for costs further down the line. And also, are on-site review meetings available? Are there costs attached to that? As my team evolves and people leave the business and then come into it, what kind of ad hoc training is available to them? Okay. So before you pull the trigger, challenge yourself before committing. So think about, does it solve the specific challenges that I identified right at the very start? Does it meet my business needs? Does it deliver against our users' needs, solving frontline users within the solution? So is it going to work for them in terms of their day-to-day activity and how they manage recruitment themselves? And look at the foundations for the positive experience. So hopefully you've established what kind of training and support and guidance is there, and making sure that it is freely available right the way through the relationship that you have. But also look at the drivers for user adoption, and are these being met? So does it help to empower users? Does it engage people? Does it drive efficiency for your organization? And then again, right at the very bottom, ask yourself, do I know, like, and trust these people? Most suppliers should be more than happy for you to come and visit them on site. We quite often welcome prospective clients to our offices. We're happy to show them about, introduce them to the team, and give them a real sense of our business and our culture, and also the people behind the support for their solution before they commit. So setting yourself up for success. It's really, really important, and I'll say it again, that you align with internal stakeholders, get their support, but also get their sponsorship for your initiative, for the projects and the tech you're looking to implement, and make sure that they are both consulted and informed right the way through the project. It'll ensure that they're aligned, that they're very much on board with the project, but also it gives you some shared responsibility for the success of the project as well, and it's not all going to hang on you. And make sure that the vendor that you've chosen is quite prepared and ready to be a stakeholder themselves, and ultimately a partner in delivering this piece of tech, and making sure that they are aligned also with your commercial and understanding your strategic objectives as well. And again, if you can, make sure that you have a dedicated success manager that's going to work with you through the project and also after it as well, to ensure you're delivering continued success with the tech you're using and you're getting the very best from it as well. And ultimately, the old adage from Drucker, if you can measure it, you can improve it. So make sure you're measuring where you were and where you've ended up in terms of the project itself, and making sure that you're constantly measuring the return on investment that the tech is giving to you, both as a function, but also the wider business as well. So when it comes into scoping and implementation and change, ask yourself and make sure that you're going to be fully supported by your vendor to make a real success of the project. And sometimes, and we quite often see this, sometimes resource within a TA function can be quite tight, or perhaps you don't feel that you've got the time or even confidence. Then I would urge you, there's lots of really great experts out there that will help support and make sure the project's a real success for you. And then ultimately, if you do call in some expertise, it can save you an awful lot of time in terms of money and frustration and all the rest of it. And what I would say ultimately is, don't let the pursuit of perfection take the precedence over pragmatism. So many times we have seen customers come through, and those that have achieved most success are those that take the most pragmatic approach to implementing tech. Again, if you get stuck in the weeds too much, then that can sometimes divert your attention from the ultimate goal and what you're looking to achieve with implementing the technology. So around service and support, make sure you should expect really clear communication with your vendor and also responsiveness from them. Now, some of that expectation is going to be set in terms of having really clear service level agreements or KPIs, key performance indicators, and also support requests as well. But it is the nature of the relationship that dictates, you know, how responsive and how good the communication is with that relationship. And what I would also say is that if any kind of sense of frustration creeps in with your team, within senior leadership, talk to your vendor. Don't suffer in silence. Make sure you're being listened to. What I would say is that right now, and pretty much any time, business for an ATS is really hard won. It's not easy to win, and keeping business is really critical for us as vendors, both in terms of our client satisfaction, but also ensuring that our clients renew at the end of our license period as well. So you can demand these things, and hopefully that should set you up really well for success. Now, we're going to come on to tech a little bit now. So product roadmaps, integrations, development, so making sense of it all. Sometimes it can seem like a little bit of a dark art. But it needn't be. So I'm going to use JobTrain a little bit as an example here. So in terms of dev teams and structure and that kind of thing. So we have a development team that manages all software development within JobTrain, but it's very clearly split into 3 different areas. So you've got your day-to-day tickets or requests for minor changes within JobTrain or an ATS. We've also got a focus on what we call the hygiene factors. So those are making sure that the solution's secure, it's stable, it's performing well. There's a separate team that will also look at innovation. So innovation is obviously really key. You know, we spend a lot of time looking at specific technology solutions to solve specific problems and talking to our customers about those as well. And we have a clearly defined and also shared roadmap to show exactly where the product is going to be improved and what innovation our customers can expect through the year. We also have a team that are dedicated to integration. So this is making sure that your complementary tech solutions and providers are neatly plugged into JobTrain. But those particular projects, you know, they do take an awful lot of time. So typically, when you look at an integration project, even for something like online testing, that's probably about 10 or 15 days work for us as an ATS provider. If you look at having your solution talking to your HR and payroll platform, you know, you can easily double or triple that. So be mindful of that. Make sure you establish up front exactly what integrations you're likely to need. Ask your provider whether they already exist, or scope and plan those integrations in advance. Understand how long it'll be before those solutions are delivered, and also what the potential costs are going to be as well. So at JobTrain, I've alluded to roadmaps here in terms of, you know, how the product's going to be developed. We share roadmaps with all of our customers at the beginning of the year. Now, they are a mixture of both our own ideas and our own inspiration around understanding specific problems that HR, TA, and recruitment experience, and then also making sure that you know, we find really clever tech solutions that help solve those problems. But we listen to our customers as well. So you really should find that you've got your voice, or you should make sure that your voice is going to be heard within your provider. Because much as we'd like to take you know, full credit for all the solutions we deliver within JobTrain, ultimately, so many of those have come from our customers as well. So we have critical friends within JobTrain, and these are customers that are happy to get involved in specific new innovation projects we have, pitch in, contribute, you know, and even test some of the solutions as well to make sure that they really are solving the problems that we initially imagined or envisaged they would do. User groups and communities are really critical. So just as we're running these HoW talent sessions for you outside of the JobTrain community, we also run similar ones internally for our customers as well. And that allows customers to connect with one another. We have a LinkedIn group as well. So it's really good to establish that those types of things are in place as well. So final thoughts. Make sure you really define those challenges that you're looking to solve with tech before you even start going out and looking at different providers. Don't get diverted by necessarily shiny tech. Challenge yourself really clearly. Make sure that you're aligning and consulting with all the stakeholders really early on and get them on board and get them in the room critically, but not just at the start of the project, but all the way through it as well. Be really clear on the specific return on investment, not just within your own function, but in terms of the broader strategic impact it's going to make as well. And don't forget to measure your success and the ROI that you are realizing with the technology as well. And ultimately, make sure that you are establishing partnerships within the business, but also with your provider as well, that are based on common understanding, trust, communication, teamwork, and ultimately support. Get all these things right, and hopefully you should be setting yourself up for success really nicely, and you should be in a position where you are really loving your tech, and basically you're swearing by your tech and not at it. I hope this has been helpful for you. That's the end of my slide presentation. Okay. Has anybody got any questions at all? I think there was a lag on some of the slides that went through, so I'm sorry about that. I'm at the mercy of my mum's broadband here whilst I'm on lockdown with her. But I hope that this little session this morning was helpful for you all. And I very much hope you all join me on the next one if there aren't any questions. Thanks, Claire, for your feedback there. Well, I hope you'll join me on the next session, which is we're looking at one of our clients. We're looking at Birmingham Hippodrome and how they delivered a values-based recruitment experience. So, yeah, thank you all for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Stay safe.